All right, since we have covered research and we've discussed some of the expectations of graduate level writing and research, we've discussed some of the minimum expectations and some of the common differences between graduate level research and undergraduate level research. I want to take the time at this point to make a point of clarification regarding the term research. Oftentimes, at the undergraduate level, we think of research in itself as simply compiling or drafting a research paper in our classes, or researching some type of phenomena or something existing in our disciplines or our field so that we can learn something more about it, so that we can then better practice our field. We can translate this into real world practice. Um, at the graduate level, you tend to think of research in the same way, but there's also a huge component added, and that's looking at research through the lens of actually conducting real world research or experiments with human subjects, oftentimes with data that you have to analyze and manipulate, where you're setting up methodology and establishing an actual framework for a study. And so, what I want to point out is that at the graduate level, it's really two parts. You've got the literary research that precedes a study, and then you have the study itself. So for the purposes of IPE 520 in this class, I want you all to realize that the research we are conducting is purely literary. Think of it as creating a research paper, which will be the final literature review, that will precede a study that you will design later. What you'll find in the spring is that many of you will take, I think it's in the spring, I can't 100%, I can't guarantee that. I'll have to look at the rotation to refresh my memory, but MASM 535 will, I think it's usually in the spring. That's the class in which you will focus on actual methodology of a study. You will create a research study regarding some type of phenomena from start to finish. You will design the methodology, you will make the conclusions and the recommendations, and oftentimes go through the internal review board if you're working with human subjects. And so that process becomes insane. It becomes very complicated. It's very nuanced. There are many steps to it. You truly have to understand the nature of both qualitative and quantitative research and data, and how that connects, and how your concepts connect to your data, and how you explore that, how you translate your data based on a study. And so what usually happens at the graduate level, when you come into a graduate program, you adopt a research interest that has something to do. It's congruent with what you want to do career-wise. It's your baby, more or less. You take that research interest, you write papers in all of your classes, you focus on this topic, and then you really flesh this topic out and oftentimes use it to conduct your study. You focus on that topic or that research domain as the focus of the study that you put together later. And so the goal for this class is that we're going to conduct the literary research that precedes the actual study you will put together later. Oftentimes that class requires you to write a lit review, so you can look at it this way. In this class, you're already going to have it done. You can pick up this lit review and move it to your future MASM 535 class, and then the literary portion of the research will already be done. And then you can focus purely just on your study. So the bullet points that you see in front of you, just to let you know, because I've mentioned literature review several times, and there's samples that I put out on Canvas that I want you to look at as part of this module. Just think of a literature review as a thorough, detailed, and dynamic research paper that discusses, analyzes, synthesizes all of the literature regarding a topic that currently exists in the academic realm. It is the research review, the literary research review that will precede a study. It will provide all of the details, all of the necessary peripheral and context clues that the audience will need to understand in order to understand a study that's conducted based on that topic. It's the prequel, if you will, to a study. And when you're out starting to investigate the different sources and journal articles and what have you in the academic realm as part of your research, you will see that there's oftentimes an abstract, which is a summary of what's to come. And then you will see a literature review or review of the literature that will precede any of the study and any of the data that you see. That's very common. It always happens that way. Any study will have a review of the literature first. It's an important aspect of building and bolstering credibility for your actual study, connecting concepts that are already apparent in the literature and already being studied by other professionals to data in the study that you're producing. And so it's really important. It's an important step of the research process. I want you all to realize that there's literary research, which is what we are doing in pursuit of a final lit review in this class. And then later in the program, you will conduct actual research. And then that's how these two pieces connect. So that's another conceptualization of graduate level research, if we're really truly looking to define the term, is it's a combination of both literary research and conducting an actual study with data. It's the combination of both of those things. And it's still driven by the same theoretical principles of why we're conducting research, just to better understand phenomena, to increase our understanding of the world around us and our field in which we are practicing. So the bullet points you see, a literature review is considered a much more engaging and developed or research paper that precedes a study, and it's developed and purely at the hands of the researcher. You have autonomy over how you put this together, how you organize it, but it is purely based on the literature that exists, and that will determine how you organize the content of your literature review. Before a study is conducted, you will always see a review of the literature, as I mentioned, and then you normally see other sections that follow. So you'll see for instance, a dissertation or a publication or a published article, you will see abstract, summary of the entire study, which is usually about a paragraph. Then you see your review of the literature, which is usually, it depends on the scope of the study and the scope of the topic. It can be anywhere from 15 pages to 200 plus. It's just totally contingent upon the topic. And then you will see a section such as methodology, so how a study is designed, what are the different variables that are manipulated, etc. Then you look at conclusions, data, the results of your study, and then you have a section such as recommendations, how that translates to real world practice, what are implications for future research, and then you have a conclusion. So as you're going through these sources, you're going to see them organized in that way, but know that the lit review is a part of that process. So for this class, we're focusing just on a literature review, the literary portion of graduate research. The idea is that the literature review will present literary research and update the audience regarding the full scope of the topic. So again, you're sharing that full understanding of your topic based on the literature that exists before engaging in research that will either move the needle or take the conversation further in terms of how we design theory for our majors, how we design and determine what is truth, what is a conceptual truth that we as practitioners in our field accept as a theory, if you will, or as something that's normalized in our fields. It's highly theoretical and concept-based, which means that it's going to be broken down into many sections, all of which connect back to your overarching thesis, which has a certain point that you're trying to get across. Just to give you an idea about research questions, there is a link here you can click on. This is the Center for Innovation and Research and Teaching from GCU. Some basic information at the graduate level for writing decent or good research questions. I'll leave this here for you to peruse. Also, this information is highly related to the reading from last week about the importance of research questions, but I want you to see how these are designed. So now I want to hit the pause button. I'm going to go back over to Canvas because I want you all to see under modules some resources, because I'm sure some of you are feeling that some of this may be completely unfamiliar in terms of research questions and how to do this. Under support videos, I want everyone to take a look at these videos. These are from actual undergraduate research classes that tell you how to narrow your topic, critical analytical framework, developing and narrowing your ideas, what's the importance of research, so how does argumentation as a conversation relate to research that we conduct. All of these videos are here to give you the background that you should have gotten from your undergraduate career, and also in terms of writing. There's APA stuff, grammar mistakes, etc., all included here. But this last video is particularly relevant, developing a research topic, research questions, and a research strategy. If you're feeling lost, you may have an initial research domain that's probably too vague and you need to really hash this out. You really need to be able to further develop this to be congruent with graduate level standards. This video is going to tell you what the process looks like, how you take that idea, how you develop it, utilizing what we call a critical analytical framework. So you're breaking an idea into its components, into its important variables in order to create connections and determine similarities and differences among certain concepts. And then you develop a thesis statement after you develop research questions. So you develop research questions in order to go out and investigate and pull sources that answer your questions, so the things you want to know. And then you eventually use that content to develop a thesis and then write your research paper. It's basically the same at the graduate level. If any of this is remotely confusing to you whatsoever, go to these videos. Pause this video now and ensure that you watch these videos so that you have a better understanding of the strategy behind how you conduct research and why we do it. I don't have time in the scope of this class to recover all of that material, so just want to let you all know that that's there, and it's important that you look at that material. There's a link right here that you can access that will take you to a section on developing sufficient research questions at the graduate level. You can peruse that as you will. The main thing to know about research questions after you have a fully defined topic is that they need to be open-ended questions that will give you some robust information or robust answers to guide your research, to guide your thesis or your topic. If your topic is not fully developed yet and you're not 100% sure of what you want to get across based on the literature, you have to go out and conduct background research and read. You have to get that snapshot of the overall reality of the literature that exists, and then start taking that information, taking notes, and then develop your research questions. What questions do you want to ask of that information? What do you want to know? And then the answers to those questions will then develop your thesis statement, and then your research questions and answers thereof will be the answers that you then use to draft a research paper. In our Canvas course also, I'm going to flip back over to that. If you scroll down here under helpful research tools, again, this is under modules. These are all worksheets that will help you. And so if you don't already, I behoove everyone to try to get a jump drive or a binder or something like that to start putting all of your notes, your printouts from your research. Eventually, we're going to be undergoing annotated bibliographies for all of our sources. So there's going to be a lot of information and a lot of material that you're probably going to find helpful to have organized in one location. And so these research sheets, worksheets here, are here for your use. They're very undergraduate in nature, but they will help you get to where you need to be. After you watch those videos and as you start working independently to try to conduct this research for yourself, if you need to know how to narrow your topic, for instance, you can use this worksheet here and it will walk you through how to do that. Watch the videos that I provided first, and then here you go. You can pull this worksheet, and then there are some criteria for how narrow your topic should be, some examples, and then research questions. If you have questions about how to formulate research questions, we have a worksheet here for that will show you specifically how to do that and also show you some samples. And keep in mind, some of these are very vague. They're not as specific as they should be for the graduate level, but at least it's a resource you have that you can tap into if you need it. Another one that I want to point out here is also a thesis statement worksheet. So what do we need to know? How do we develop a thesis statement? And then some information about balancing the rhetorical appeals, which is very important. There's a research keywords and synonyms worksheet. So this helps you develop synonyms or other words for what you're thinking in terms of your topic that you can plug in a search field in the databases to generate more articles, more sources that you may then use in your research. There's some tips here. All of these are resources for you that are undergraduate in nature, and I don't have time to cover, but I want you to know that they're here. So make sure you click on these. There's also a research planner here, which is actually, once we have some due dates for the final lit review, this is from Baylor, you can put in your final due dates. So we'll just say this is a totally just hypothetical date here. We'll say November 21st is the date the assignment is due, and you're starting it today. So we'll say 10/21, and then schedule paper process. It's going to show you each step. So understand your assignment clearly. It gives you the percentage, and it tells you the date by which you need to have everything done. Select and focus your topic, explore your research questions, and then it gives you links to how to do this. Design your research strategy, finding sources on your topic. Step 6, read, note, compare sources, thesis statement. This is all very developed, but very applicable to the lit review that we're going to be doing. So you can even do this for the critical analysis. You can plug in the date there. You can print this out. You can follow the links to give you a better overview of what you're doing. But I want you to use these resources, especially this planner, as you do this, because you are going to be undergoing this process independently.